I don't think I have time to refilm that, so sorry for the vertical. I was filming TikToks earlier and I didn't the my brain didn't shift into the proper mode, so it's going to be vertical in the beginning. I am sorry about that. Hey there. New location today, and that's because I need to get some writing done. I run a Patreon account now called Flash Fiction Central, and that is where I write flash fiction, which is fiction that is 1,000 words or less. If you want to check it out, I will have a link in the description below. But today I thought I'd talk about some big plans I have coming up. Because we are currently in February, and there are 2 big weeks in February, and so I am dedicating stories to each of those weeks. Now, first, of course, is Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. That was actually coincidental. I just felt like hearts today. So, for Valentine's Day, I will be writing 3 Valentine's-themed stories. And when I say Valentine's, I just mean romancy stories. One story will be a fantasy story surrounding 2 knights. Another will be a sci-fi story that is also enemies and lovers. Not enemies to lovers, enemies and lovers. There is a difference, and it is my favorite. And the third, I haven't figured out yet, so I'm going to figure that out today. And the second big week in February, of course, is Aromantic Spectrum Awareness Week. So I'll write 3 stories relating to aromantism. Now, the first one is a little cheaty. I'll give you that. Since this is the first year that Sherlock Holmes is fully in public domain, not partially, but fully in public domain, I really want to start off the year with a Sherlock Holmes story. So I did write a Sherlock Holmes story. This one does not refer to his aromanticism, but I do headcanon him as aromantic, and a lot of people do. So I'm going to start off the week with the Sherlock Holmes story. But yeah, I think it's good. Another is going to be a more of an emotional story. It's going to be about internalized aphobia and working through that, which is a very, it really hits me writing that one. I've been having trouble finishing it, so I gotta finish that today. It makes me a little emotional thinking about it. Yeah. But then there's a third one that's going to be nice and light, and it's just going to be a goofy little story. I actually wrote this one a while back. I'm going to update it and actually premiere it on the Patreon, and it's a sci-fi. So, I guess let's get writing. Oh my god, I've had it the wrong way the whole time. Time to get writing. So, don't worry, this isn't going to be a boring video where I'm just going to sit here and do nothing, not talk at all. I will be talking while I'm writing. So, I think my first story is going to be the future story. Now, this is very interesting. I want to give some tips here for when you're writing, short stories and you don't have a lot of time to explain stuff. Now, I don't fully explain in this story that I can't get comfortable. I'm not used to typing in this chair, but I thought it'd be a fun chair to type in. This works. So I don't actually have a lot of time to establish that this is a sci-fi, because it's not the main part. The main part is it being a romance. But I wanted to get across that to sci-fi, because in my head, this is taking place in, the future. And there's a couple tips and tricks. Namely, pun intended, apparently. Well, I guess unintended. But pun intended is a pun on unintended. We're going down a rabbit hole. Namely, names can give you the location a lot. So my characters' names are Taz and Bex. Nope. It's not Bex. Oh my god. I have the notes right here. Taz and Dex. Now, right here, hearing those names, if you were to guess what genre it is, anyone would probably tell you, I bet it's a sci-fi. Because there's ways different names sound. And for sci-fi, you want short names, so 1 to 2 syllables. You don't want super long names, depending. Some work better with long names. There's always a reason to break the rule. But when it comes to short stories, it's always best to follow the rules, I feel like. So anyway, short names, and there's no, like, compound sounds in here. There's no, like, store. It's beast or t. We don't want store, you know? You want, like, very simple short names. So Taz and Dex. And also, I went with X's and Z's because they give, like, a sci-fi feel. You want those, like, harder consonants. So D, T. Those are harder. You don't want as many, like, I really have no clue how I am going to, like, how I'm going to put the subtitles on here. Like, am I going to try and, like, write it out how it sounds in English? Am I going to use the International Phonetic Language? Oh my God. The International Phonetic Alphabet? I don't know. But yeah. That's what, that was the first and foremost thing that I did to set up this world we're in. And you kind of, like, put certain things in, like, you can try and throw in some more sci-fi slang and all that. I don't really have a lot of room for that, I don't think. I'm not great with sci-fi slang. I'm going to, mention a, like, rocket ship or space. What did I just type in? I hit a button. I think I almost deleted what I had. That's not good. So, you know, maybe talk about spaceship or outer space or aliens, you know, just to slide in. Not aliens. I feel like aliens is going to be too much. And I also have to put in the fact that it's a war. So, that's the big thing. We want oh my god, okay. We're not going to type for a sec. We're going to talk. We want to mention there's a war because that's important here. They are enemies on opposite sides, so they need to be in, like, a war. And then, let's see if I can move on to another story just to, you know, talk about it and the little things that, like, you do for stories. Because this is what I want. I want to discuss how short stories work and how you write them. So, I actually completed the Sherlock story. So, let's talk a little bit about Sherlock Holmes. So, this idea came to me from Tumblr, and it's very interesting. It was somebody talking about how in the original series, like the books that Sir Conan Doyle doesn't, Arthur Conan Doyle? I'm sorry, I don't remember his name. Doyle is definitely in there, right? Yeah. Yeah, because, Doylist. So, yeah. Mr. Doyle's, stories. That even though a lot of people now in modern interpretations tend to view him as autistic or psychopathic, which is a pop culture disease, so not an actual diagnosis. And I don't know. I don't like when grounded stories use sociopath or psychopath as diagnosable disorders. Like, if it was more, like, if it was less grounded, actually, not more grounded. If it was a little less grounded and you were expecting some fantasy to it, then, like, not fantasy, but, like, less realistic, more fictional, I would give it that. But I don't like the idea of grounded stories using pop culture disorders. Because read through the DSM. There's no disorder about sociopaths or psychopaths. Anyway, I just went on a tangent there. I am sorry. A lot of people tend to view him as autistic in modern stories, but this person said that he actually displayed a lot of ADHD tendencies, which, like, comorbidities, you could have both, but I wanted to focus on the idea of him having ADHD, and also they mentioned how his coke addiction, given how people, like, treated coke at the time, cocaine. Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? We'll see. They didn't realize just how bad it was, so it wouldn't make sense for Sherlock Holmes to use cocaine, like, get started on cocaine in a modern sense, because of what we know now. So this is a bit of a modern take. I don't use anything really modern in here, except I do make a reference to a coffee pot. But they had coffee pots like back in the 1800s, so this is meant to be more modern. I think it comes across. Actually, wait, I do make a modern reference. I make a reference to Red Bull. Anyway, I should explain why. So they said that in a modern thing, him having a caffeine addiction might make more sense for the character. So this is actually exploring his caffeine addiction and making reference to his ADHD and whatnot. I have a reference to Adderall and how he combines Adderall and caffeine to regulate his ADHD and all that, but he's doing so in a more destructive way than a helpful way. So there's that. I think it's an interesting story personally. I gotta write out the Knights one. Let's talk about that real quick. The story about the two knights in love ends up being another great example of what to do for writing, and that is how to write the first draft. And what I actually did was I just said it. I didn't write it down at all. I just uploaded an audio recorder, voice recorder, whatever you call it. I didn't want to waste space with video, so I just got a voice recorder and I just spoke out the story. And so I'm actually taking the story of listening to it and writing it down. I would show you how that works. I think that'd be a really interesting thing, playing it and writing and showing you guys, but it's actually on my phone, and I record these on my phone, so I can't show you. But yeah, essentially I will just say the story, just talk it out, usually if I'm driving or something, because I'm not doing anything else. So, well, I mean, I am doing something, I'm driving, but I can talk and drive, so I just talk, and that's the first draft. And then the second draft is what I write down. And I think that is very useful, especially if you're someone that goes back and edits as you're writing the first draft. There are many tools to not do that. People will, have it written in white, make it impossible to backspace. But I think just talking really works. Just you talk it out, and you can't really backspace talking, but you also kind of can. So, something I remember doing is I had said something, and I didn't like it, so I said, actually, scratch that, it's this, and I continued on. So, I did edit as I went along, but I couldn't do too much editing, because then I would lose my place, because it's all in my head. So, I would definitely recommend making your first draft an audio recording. It works wonders, I promise. I would take a quick minute to actually talk about my Patreon, so that you guys could get an idea of what you'd be looking at if you did sign up. So as of right now, there are 2 tiers. I'm hoping to add in a third, but we're not there yet. So the first tier is 1 story per week, a total of 4 per month. and the other is 3 stories per week, a total of 12 stories per month. And so what you get with that is honestly just a wide variety of stories. I write sci-fi, fantasy, realistic fiction. I have a poem on there. It's a dual sonnet. So, like, honestly, you'll get so many different types of stories. I think my favorite one on there right now is called Vampire Hunter's First Kill. Let me just get the title up so I know for sure that I'm saying the right title. Yeah, Vampire Hunter's First Kill, and it's about this teenager. I think they're a teenager. I want to say they're about 19 in my head. Like, I specify that they're at most 2 decades old because it's a vampire talking. Years are a little too short for vampires, but anyway, the main character is about 19 and they are trying to kill the vampire that killed their parents, and it's really interesting. You know, I'm going to read you a little quote. Let's see, what's a good one? All right, I like this quote that I found. So for reference, Maze and the vampire. Oh, Maze is the name of the main character. Maze and the vampire in like an alleyway, and Maze is wearing a garlic flower crown. So not like garlic bulbs, but garlic flowers, like in the original Dracula. Let's see. So we're going to start with the vampire speaking. Child, everyone is a child to me. You were born what? 2 decades ago? If that, I was born 2 millennia ago. You certainly look it. Funny. The vampire paused, staring Maze down. And how exactly do you plan on killing me? Even if I wasn't faster and stronger, that garlic keeps distance between us. You'll never get close enough to stab me. Why don't you take it off and take your best shot? You'd like that, wouldn't you? Maze said. Very much, yes. Young blood tastes so much better. Fresher. You will die tonight. I like your gusto, kid. Maze took a step back. The vampire stepped closer. I could smell your fear, even under those disgusting flowers. You reek of it. So yeah, that's like one of my favorite stories that I've written so far. I really want someone to read the whole thing. I'm fangirling over my own story. Like, yeah, I'll bet. I really like a lot of my work. So the link, like I said earlier, is going to be in the description of this video. I really encourage you to check it out because, I mean, I like my work. I want to share my work, and I think that a lot of people would really, really like it. Other stories that I have, just to give you like an idea. Let's see, if I just go to a random story. A Price to Pay. That is about 2 people that are discussing how much, like, oh my god. I lost my words there for a second. This is a story surrounding 2 people, and they are discussing a certain price to make a secret get covered up. 5 more minutes. Oh, this is a cute little one about 2 wives that they're just in bed, and one has to go to work, and the other's like, let's just stay in bed, and it's just a cute little, like, romancy bit. Another good one. Acceptance of Denial. That's less of a story and more just musings, I guess you can say. It's hard to say. It's about queerness and just gender and all that. That one's hard to describe because it's not really set up like a story. It's a little different than what I'm usually writing. It's really about emotion more than a plot. And I like it. Good Night is about a serial killer. It's just about, there's a serial killer on a college campus, and Very interesting. And A Fairy's Gift. A Fairy's Gift is the first story that I published on Patreon, and it's a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, specifically about her baptism. Well, it's not really a baptism in this story, but in the original it's a baptism, so it's basically the beginning of Sleeping Beauty, and there's a war between the humans and the fairies that is talked about, but like they're trying to sweep it under the rug, and it's a really interesting story. I think it's a really interesting story. People have told me it's an interesting story, so I guess I'm right. I guess it is interesting. So I can't film for much longer. I have a lot to do today. I really hope you check it out. I really hope you enjoy my work as much as I do. And until next time, I will see you later.
Yeah, none of those plans actually ended up coming into fruition. I got migraines day after day after day. I'm just mass posting a bunch of short stories, like drabbles and whatnot. Which is hard to say short story when it's already flash fiction, but like I'm writing 100-word stories and just mass posting them so that I have all the stories for February. Those stories I was talking about are going to get posted, but I do not have the mental energy to edit a 1,000-word story right now.